back to like November, and then they're all gone.
I don't know. Does Twitter just delete your history?
Someone delete your history.
Well, I have a social media manager, so yeah.
That's probably it. You probably said something terrible, and they just wiped it.
Yeah, like 10 years ago, you know, someone's gonna dig it up and just bury me with it in like 5 years.
Trust
time.
me, someone tried to dig it up and bury you with it. It's gone.
That's the whole point of this segment.
But I actually don't know why tweets are deleted. I don't remember that.
It's fine. It's
That's
fine.
Weird.
You don't need. I did find some. We're going to learn a little more about you. This is your chance to be able to either explain yourself or we just learn a bit more about Pyro. January 30th. I've discovered that Australian grocery stores do indeed have Yorkshire tea. This truly is the promised land. Now, we don't drink Yorkshire tea in this country. I think. English breakfast.
I don't drink tea.
Why do you stock
English
it in your
breakfast.
grocery stores if you don't have it? If you don't drink it?
It's just, I mean, again, I feel like eating the meat pie with the knife and fork, drinking Yorkshire tea.
How do you prepare your tea? This is what I'm interested in.
About 3-4 minutes with the bag in, and then splash of milk, stir it around, and drink it. Easy.
Do you take the bag out?
Yeah, you take the bag out when you're done. That's gross.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
You wouldn't leave
Wait,
it.
When you're
When
done
you're
the drink, or when you're
No,
done
when you're done
the
steeping
3 or
it,
4
the
minutes?
3 or 4
Before
minutes.
you
That's all
drink
you-
it.
and it,
Yeah.
it gets really bitter after that. That's gross.
That's true. Okay,
Yeah.
good. You passed that one.
Yeah,
January
okay.
15th. Also, army helmets are super itchy today, I learned. What's up with that?
So if you were watching what I was previously doing on Rules of Survival out in Shanghai, we have a lot of like little army props because it's a battle royale game, and I had to wear one for a segment, and it's really itchy. So
it does what it says
I
in the
wouldn't want to
box.
join the army because my head would be itchy all the time.
You found appreciation for this.
Yeah.
Helmet Bros helmet also.
Yeah, actually,
Quite
Spawn
itchy,
now
so,
knows.
yeah.
You dressed up a lot on that broadcast as well. I found. a
Yeah,
picture
there
of
was
you
I was
dressed as like
Santa. I was the Taoist god of prosperity because for Lunar New Year. Yeah, so I did a
They
lot
make
of
you dress up a lot on Chinese broadcasts. I
Is
can
that a
tell you
thing?
that much for certain.
What did you dress up as?
Chinese New Year, you do a bunch of weird stuff. I also dressed up as a martial artist one time for a video shoot we did, which was super cool. I did 3 hours of Tai Chi training
Really?
for a video shoot.
You got any moves?
Show
that
us
you
your
can-
moves.
Not at
Just
all.
maybe
Show us
just
your
one.
moves.
Maybe just
Not at
one.
all. It was really hard to learn too.
It's a calming process.
Yeah, this is not a calming environment.
Not at all. Absolutely.
Before you continue, is this a run? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm about to ruin your gag, but why are you getting the dates wrong in every single one of these tweets? You said January 30th, and it was the 29th, and then
Oh,
the 15th,
really?
and it was the 16th. Like, what are you doing?
Okay, no, no. Then I'm right. It's probably like a time conversion. So I'm probably looking. It's
okay,
relative
yeah,
time because
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
all just like one day behind. So yeah, no,
Ah,
it's
that
not a
makes a
bit.
lot of sense.
It's not like he's
Because I'm
some
just
weird
sitting
time
here,
traveler.
like,
Yeah.
are
That's
you,
good though.
are you like what?
I'm
Yeah,
glad you.
okay.
I'm glad you're watching out.
I
for me,
tweet
bud.
at like 11:55 p.m. just to mess with people in different time zones.
There you go.
Yeah.
December 25th, which is probably the 24th. It could be the 26th. I didn't tell my family I was
24th.
showing up for Christmas this year. I think they enjoyed the surprise. I would argue they didn't. There's 2 people in that picture who aren't even looking at you, who actually look disappointed you arrived. Who are they?
shots.
And what did you do to them?
They didn't know I was taking the selfie. That's the other problem. I didn't tell
right.
anybody about that. Yeah, actually, fun story. I only my mom, who was in the right side of that picture, knew that I was showing up for Christmas. Everybody else was surprised, and it was kind of like a young family reunion, sort of. So I showed up, and everyone's like, "Whoa, aren't you supposed to be in China right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was, like 5 hours ago."
For those of you who don't realize, Devin's last name is Young. Obviously, most of the people in that photo were extremely old, so it wasn't like a young family.
that makes so
It
much. I
wasn't like
forgot
a
his
young
last
family
name was
reunion.
Young.
Young
that makes a lot
Gi
of sense.
is what I get all the time. There's an
That's
E at the end of
also
it.
real wholesome, and you're trying to rag on this guy, Nick.
Yeah,
Come on.
I actually thought
this is
he
a
would come up
wholesome
with some
family
real-
experience.
I thought he
and-
would dredge up like the real like edgy tweets from like college or something.
You
know?
deleted them
They're
all.
gone. No, Twitter deleted them. I swear, I didn't actually do anything with them.
We have December 26th. Who knows the real date? Now, this is not a wholesome family. This is like, I can do this. Somebody put a glass of lemonade in our cupboard and placed it so that when I opened the cupboard, it fell out and shattered in my face.
Yeah,
Who
so-
does that? Was it Grandma? Because she was pissed you
think
turned up?
I think it actually might have been my mom, but I think what happened. So the kitchen's really dark.
Yep.
So the light was out in like the overhead. So I opened the door. This little cupboard, and in front of the cupboard there's like a cutting board that people just put glasses on. But I think something was stacked on top of that, and the glass was on top of that. So I might have actually opened the cupboard without seeing the glass in front of it, or the glass was in the cupboard and it fell out and shattered. Either way, glass shattered in my face, and I got a face full of lemonade, and I got really tilted, so I tweeted about it.
All I'm saying is if there is a cupboard of nondescript clear liquid,
Yep.
a cup and it's in the cupboard and it's supposed to. I'd be very skeptical if
backing
it was
away.
just lemonade.
Straight away. Straight away.
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know anything about it even being there because I opened the door and then crash.
I reckon there might be something else mixed with that lemonade.
Yeah. I'm not even going to say it, but we all saw the picture beforehand. You could put 2 and 2 together. January 13th. I don't think I have any photos of me from 2009, so I'm definitely not posting them. You can't make me.
It's because they all got deleted.
Here's my thing. I want you to bring in a picture of you from 2009 for next week. I want to see one. I want to see the me 10 years ago Devon meme.
I don't want to help Skynet map my facial recognition any more than I have to, man.
I
will show you, but I'm not going to put it on.
Well, he is
on
a
the
Terminator,
internet.
so if you show him, you're pretty much showing.
Oh, really?
Skynet. Yeah.
Is that exterior, the chill vibe? That's just all an act.
I'm basically
Okay.
The chill vibe.
Yeah, the chill. No one
The
has
chill
ever
next
described me as chill. January 19th. WTF is Weet-Bix. We're about to find out, my friend.
Yeah, I've been told that I'm going to be informed
Good
very
find.
shortly. You guys were talking about Weet-Bix for like 10 minutes. So what I was doing when you guys were broadcasting the OPL was I was usually walking like to and from the office in Shanghai. So I just like had Twitch on my phone, but I couldn't watch it because I'm like, I need to watch where I'm going. So I just put it on audio only, stick my phone in my pocket, so it's like a podcast. And then I just hear you guys talking about Weet-Bix for like an hour, and I'm just, what is going on?
Yeah, we did that.
Also,
We did.
Yeah.
I am going to debate the part where you just said you can't watch your phone and walk down the street because
Safely.
every idiot in the world walks down the street looking at their phone at the moment.
This is
and
why
just
I'm not an
regularly bumps into me. So more people need to be like Pyra.
It's true.
Yeah.
More people need to be like
Oh,
Pyra.
well, you can do audio only mode on Twitch. It's great.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I do it in my car.
That feels like the takeaway for this segment. So that's been Please Explain Yourself. This segment works much better when I could get tweets from like 2004, but that's fine. I'll track down what you did, mate, and I'll find it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's move on. A quick reminder before we get into the setup for the next seg that we do want your suggestions for our Lunar New Year episode or couple of episodes. Weekend, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, you said there's a lot of dress up in China. Potentially we could do some of that. Potentially we could not do something there. Maybe we could dress down. I don't know. It's the OPL. We get away with some weird shit here on this show. But if you send in your suggestions, use the hashtag I am OPL in chat or on Twitter. There's a tweet there. Just reply to that. Boom! Let's move on.
Let's move
Bombers. V. Gravy. Boys.
That's the one. It's a big one.
Yeah.
I would say that Gravitas have had one of the toughest weeks in the OPL at the moment. They've just gone from the Chiefs to the Bombers.
Yep.
Not an easy week for anyone. And
Yeah.
if yesterday's result is anything to go by, this is a scary game. for the
Certainly
Gravy
is.
boys.
Chiefs now with their victory in that last game, obviously. Bombers probably looking to match that and try and hold their top spot. This is a tough ask. Gravitas in the game yesterday didn't get a whole lot done. That was an incredibly rough game. A single turret took it away from the perfect game there for the Chiefs. So it's a bit of a roughie.
Well, we're going to see how that turns out for you. Because obviously we had spicy tips before.
Yes.
You protested
Yes.
a lot and said that you did actually back your boys.
Yes, I did.
We have updated the graphic.
Good. Okay, that's
It says Bombers win on your forehead.
So my face has been absolutely toasted. I also got roasted by my team, but this was okay. I'll
did.
cop it
You got roasted
because
hard.
Lauren posted the screenshot of my tips
Yeah.
on Twitter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I did tip Bombers.
Yeah.
It was unintentional. It was a genuine mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like typing out my tips. Like I put us in for the first week or for the first day yesterday. I wanted to put us in for the second day, and I literally just screwed it up. And so I'm backing. I've changed my tips.
Yep.
Everybody else is going for Bombers.
Yep.
It's an uphill battle.
Yep.
But I have faith. So I've changed my tips. It could cost me a chili, but I'm happy for that.
Can I
yeah.
get that graphic up again?
Are we all going to be eating chili?
Yeah, I'm wondering, is there any way that
Pyra's the only one that wouldn't.
I think Pyra just wins like either Jake wins or
That's
Pyra
amazing.
comes second, and I think the rest of us have to eat chili.
Either I eat chili or everybody but Pyra eats chili, right?
Yeah, correct.
That's there.
Yeah,
that's
that's
it.
correct.
Yeah,
Is that-
so it's me against the world. Yeah,
That's spicy.
Because I pick Chiefs. So
Yeah.
if Gravitas lose, then I even out, and you guys have got everything correct. So everything. Bar. So Bar.
No, but then
Mammoth.
Pyra has everything right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't matter who wins.
Yeah, I know.
It only matters who loses.
Yes.
So Pyra is just like, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Like
Pyra's
if the
safe.
games go as planned, right?
I like how we just said, yeah, Pyra has everything right, and we're only one game into the
Yeah.
day, just
Yeah.
because we all tipped the same ones.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
for it because AV's on that list, but those games are not decided yet.
I know
It-
this is.
There's potential.
There is potential. I'm gonna take your word for it. Now let's get into the Rust list. Obviously, Rusty, can you talk us down Gravitas? What have they brought today?
Absolutely, I assume they brought the same people because they don't often sub people out. They've got their coach, Juvies in the background, you've got Pabs in the top lane, Praise in the jungle, Hazza in mid, Razza in AD carry, and Decoy in support.
Not Dazza?
No, I was getting really sick of the same thing.
Yeah,
I didn't
okay.
know how to give him one different.
Yeah.
Deza? Deza.
Dazza?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he definitely doesn't have an A in his name, so it makes sense. He's the only one that, unfortunately.
But yes.
Yeah, as we just hit on, this is potentially, like, I want to be seeing out of the boys today, obviously, like, affiliated with the team. I just want to see a lot more just being done. Yesterday, it was very rough from very early on in the game. Just make things happen. I feel like this is a David versus Goliath matchup. We've had a few of them in the OPL so far. AV has brought out stuff like the Mordekaiser, like super wacky picks, and just done something. And that's what, like, we had a conversation. That's what I want to see today. Like, something has to be done early and to take the victory.
All right, brilliant. Well, they need to do something early against someone, and those someones are the Bombers, who are looking pretty good. And Bryce, talk us through.
Yep, certainly they are trying to retain their top spot equal with the Chiefs. It's going to be Western Way pacing behind them in the coach position, Mimic and Balkan rounding out the top side of the map. Ryoma in the mid lane, FBI and Rogue a storied bottom lane here, and looking to pick up the victory.
And it should just be a point to prove for the Bombers. You know, as a brand right now, they see the Chiefs above them on the ladder. They know that there's the head-to-head still with the Chiefs, but at the end of the day, they want to be able to match that top dog spot and say that this is not a one-horse race, and then we still have that big point to prove. Chiefs have taken the first step today. Bombers should just answer as best they can.
Absolutely. Well, you can watch the game on ost.lollysports.com, and you can get yourself XP, emotes, icons, all the stuff that I mention all the time. And also you can check out our Twitter page at OPL. There is Balkan is our POV stream for
That'd be a
today's
good one.
game. So that should be a good one to check out. And speaking of good ones, I'm going to throw it over to Pyra and Spawn.
Thank you very much, Nick Boy. Definitely good ones here as well. Definitely excited.
How are these matching shirts?
Well, you are
Kind
very
of
pineapple-y.
matching shirts.
Yeah, I've actually had people asking what the pattern is. I think it's
They're like cherry blossoms.
Yeah, like cherry blossoms, but like very small.
Cherry blossoms are kind of small, but yeah,
well,
cool.
smaller than
Getting
normal
into
actual
this
cherry
game,
blossom.
it's going to be
Yeah,
Gravitas
let's talk
versus
about it.
Bombers. This is, Bryce said David versus Goliath, and I think that kind of sells that short at the moment. Gravitas yesterday almost got perfect game. They were able to pick up a turret, but not all that much else. Bombers at the same time are very, very potent in the early game. So I like that, you know, the analysts on the couch identified that Gravitas need to kind of swing very heavily towards that early game and try and get that foot up, and they just try and dictate the pace of this game. I feel like if they put Bombers behind, there's a potential to be able to do so. I was actually going to say maybe you go something like a cheeky Silas pick, but unfortunately Bombers has taken that away. So I want to see what else they have. Maybe it's like a Lucian Braum bottom lane. Maybe it's a Zoe mid for Harry. Something that is just going to be able to have some good early game impact.
I think that's definitely going to be key as well. Let's take a look at how the rest of the band shake out. LeBlanc is taken away by Bombers. A lot of power picks banned away there, as well as a brand new Silas. Gravitas taking their time with the last one. And it looks like it's going to be Aurelia, who Tapoon piloted to much success last game. Well, at least for a little bit anyways. Meaning Urgot is up, so that should be a no-brainer for Mimic.
Yeah, Mimic kind of smiled because he's like, I don't want to play Urgot. Everyone kind of has to play Urgot as a top laner right now. It's the best tank in the meta. He's like, why me? But it is certainly the best pick available. I'm sure he was wishing that was banned. Probably going to be a Scion answer here for Parbu. And I would expect the start of the duo lane to be picked up here. Lucian, of course, going to be very, very strong.
Yeah, you want to get off to a great start in lane. That's definitely one of the ways to do it now. And you need all the help you can get up against the likes of FBI and Rogue. Spawn, you definitely know about the power that those two bring.
Yeah, certainly do. At the same time now, FBI and Rogue kind of have to decide whether they want to take their duo lane. Probably something like a Kai'Sa Thresh is what you would be looking at to go into the Lucian Braum. Because otherwise, if they don't pick it now, then Gravitas can take their support and start pinching whatever role the Bombers don't have. And it looks like they aren't going to take it, Pyra.
But a
Means that
Rise
the pinch
instead.
could be on.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on that one. But talk to me about this Rise pick a little bit for Ryoma.
He's a really good Rise player.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Great. Comfort is important, for sure. Let's see. There's a lot of lockdown now already between Mimic and Bryoma, and add to that a Tom Kench, which we saw playing, in a defensive capacity last time around, using it to save a lot of lives. But Tom Kench, Abyssal Voyage, can be used very aggressively as well in the right situation. We'll see if Rogue ends up doing that this game. Still waiting for them to take an AD carry, as you mentioned, could be very well pinched, as well as a jungle. Two roles that have been highly contested, neither of them picked up by the Bombers. And it looks like we've got a Lissandra lock-in for Harry.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, because I've said this a couple of times now. My preference on drafting on the red side is that you actually should be able to see jungle before you're forced to lock in your second solo laner. The reason that's so important is because a lot of junglers at the moment swing the mid lane 1v1 and the top lane 1v1, in my opinion. So what I would have liked to see there is, strongest jungler taken double jungle ban, or a support taken like Braum, which was just banned away, to be able to match the Tahm Kench. Hold the mid lane pick for Harry until you get to know what that jungler is. Maybe that means he can play something a little bit more aggressive. However, that's not what they go with. Instead, now you're in this weird position where you're forced to ban a couple of different roles, and a Zoe ban is a little bit strange.
Yeah, considering that there's already a Rise locked in.
Yep. Maybe think it could be an FBI Rise?
Question mark? I don't know. A little bit of odd choice for sure. But the Thresh is also banned away by Bomber, so they do keep the focus on to Decoy and support pool, since they already have the Tahm Kench locked in. But it does go back over to Gravitas. Last seconds ticking down before they finally lock in the Alistar that did make it through.
And Alistar is an okay matchup into the Tahm Kench. I would say that it's one of, the worst tanks into it, but has very good team fight process. Tahm Kench wants to be able to attack a side lane. Alistar is very good at forcing in the mid game. So as long as they navigate this laning phase, the Alistar pick is going to be fine. Saying that, you do have to pick the moment that you go in. And FBI is just going to take Victor again here.
Ooh, I like the Camille for Balkan too. In his first performance, that was a killer.
Yeah, it certainly was. And, this is what happens when the jungle pool really doesn't get pinched all that much. Balkan going to be the point of view stream on Twitter. And he probably gets his best pick along with the Eve in the Camille. Certainly one of his highest one. Now Praelis gets to counter pick in the jungle, and I hope they have something special here. Potentially going to be an Evelyn picked up for himself, maybe a Kha'Zix.
Okay, Praelis will go for the Kha'Zix. So let's talk, before we get underway, a little bit more about this composition. We've talked about Bombers and the power that they bring so far. So we'll start with Gravitas and what they need to do with the picks that they've taken.
That's a head ram comp. That's the Sledgehammer, the Death Ball, the whatever you want to call it. That's a group up as 5 and try and make something happen at, the 1-2 item mark, when they're going to be stronger than a couple of the majors here. Rise is going to be looking for scaling with maybe a tier build. Victor needs to get his Hex Core upgraded before he can really see much potency. So it's going to be about, getting Parvu and Harry and Raid to, their first or second item, then look for the 5v5 group up. At the same time, Bombers have just really good wave clear and a safe 3 with the Tahm Kench, Victor, as well as Balkan's Camille. So they're going to be able to successfully disengage a lot. And it looks like a 1-3-1 comp, which is kind of strange because from my experience with FBI and Rogue, they get at times a little bit frustrated playing 1-3-1. So I'm really interested to track the progress now, because obviously they've had 6 months where they've been working towards now with this Bombers team, since the end of last season. And this will show how much they've progressed as a duo, because hanging out in the mid lane and playing wave clear duty in 1-3-1 is a very important role and can be difficult at times.
Yeah, and joining us to talk a little bit more about that is going to be the coach of Bombers. It is Weston Way. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get into it and talk about that composition, the 1-3-1. Spawn alluded to the fact that it's been a little bit uncomfortable for some of the players on your team in the past. Is this something that you've been really focusing on to try and round the team out?
Yeah, I mean, we've been practicing each week. We usually figure out kind of what compositions roughly we want to go for. So it's definitely something we got a lot of practice on, and if we weren't comfortable on it, then we wouldn't play it.
And talk to me through the Aftershock Rise, because this is one of those picks that has been in solo queue a heck of a lot, but hasn't really made its way into pro play. In fact, Phase Rush has been a little bit stronger. Is this one of those cases where, a player is just really comfortable playing it, so therefore you think it has a role in pro play as well?
Yeah, generally with laning matchups and things like that, that's generally something which the players decide. So I'm not entirely too sure. I imagine it's something to do with versing Lissandra, with Lissandra going in and then you just having the Aftershock. So I imagine it's a good matchup for Rise, but yeah.
All right, cool. And now talk to me about how the team's currently going, because you guys and Chiefs currently top of the leaderboard. A couple of the opponents that you thought would be up there are falling away. It's only 3 weeks into a 10-week season. How are you tracking their progress, and how are you making sure they stay focused?
I mean, generally it's just a case of kind of each week just figuring out what we want to do and kind of looking at what our team's style is going to be, and then just kind of like developing compositions around that. And yeah.
Fair enough, for sure. It seems like a lot of teams kind of opt for that take it week by week situation. Best of one has been an adjustment for the OPL. Do you think Bombers are more suited to it than other teams, or has this been kind of just the fact that you're overall a stronger team that's allowed you to get this 4-1 record so far?
I mean, I think it'll kind of even out at the end of the split. Like, I think with best of one, there's a lot more opportunity for upsets on like a week-to-week basis. But we do play each team in a triple round robin 3 times. So even if you drop like one game to a team that you're expected to beat, you might pick up the next 2. So I mentioned it'll kind of balance out somewhat like the best of 3 did by the end of the split. But yeah, definitely more chance for upset week to week.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Weston Way. I'll let you get back to your team.
Thank you very much.
And during that time, we didn't really see anything all that spicy, apart from a Kazakh start at Raptor Camp, which we're not used to seeing all that much with the Vorpal spikes. But Praelis still looks like he's getting pretty quickly through this jungle. So, nice little cheeky path there.
Try to accelerate best he can. We will wait on those 1 to 2 item spikes before things do start to get underway. On the Gravitas side, you can see Harry is already harried. Balkan freely able to just kind of walk through lane, not worried about being detected here.
Yeah, going to get triple scuttle crab here for Balkan. Double scuttle for Balkan. So that's nice to see. Decoy takes a bit of harass.
That's sometimes the risk. Playing into that Alistar can close those gaps pretty quickly. Decoy pushing up, but he does take a bit of damage as well. In terms of where the laning should be focused right now, do you think that Gravitas should be doing all they can to try and snowball down bottom, since it is a Lucian into a Victor?
I mean, I think that, there's actually a couple of aggressive lanes they can play towards, because there's good CC in top and mid for Praelis to be able to... Speaking of top, yeah, let's have a look at it.
Okay, Balkan, he does get the jump in on that hook shot. Pabu, oh, flash and flash. Traded, decimating smash as well. Pabu is very quick with his D key.
Yeah, and I mean, he has to be there, right? But the reason that Mimic was willing to burn the flash is the lane's in a great position right now. It's pushing into Mimic. Pabu would have to recall and then teleport back, or he has to try and stay here and push it out. And Kha'Zix is on the bottom side of Summoner's Rift, so he's not going to get any help to be able to do that. That means that Mimic's going to be able to deny all these last hits, maybe even a little bit of experience. So very well played from the top laner of the Bombers. What I was saying is, because Kha'Zix brings all the damage you need in a game, CC is enough to like get him in. And you're going to have CC in spades coming out of the Lissandra, coming out of the Scion. So I don't think it's necessarily bottom lane. And it's quite difficult to gank a Tahm Kench. So I'd like to see Praelis maybe focus a little bit more around his solo lanes and try and get, Harry or Pabu ahead and carry from that top position.
Well, there you have it. He is waiting in the wings here. Harry doing his best. Instead of acting to try and get Ryoma to jump in on him, who's already been pushed back, but Balkan's going to check into this. Both level 3 on these junglers, and he has no idea that he's here. Isolation damage coming through, and Balkan's in a spot of bother right now as he's forced to flash back and away. Rune Prison, but Praelis flashes forward and tastes the fear of Balkan. They're going to try and make this a 2-for-2, but Ryoma flashes back.
And you can already see the bottom lane had rotated across. That's such great map movement coming out of the Gravitas lineup. Just everyone involved in the play. And that is a much more promising sign, Pyro, than what we saw out of the games yesterday, already picking up a kill.
Yeah, Gravitas definitely have to be feeling a little more confident after how that played out. We'll see how Bombers end up responding to it, but that was just a case of blind checking. Balkan thought he was going to be completely safe in that river.
Well, the thing is, right, is you got hookshot and you got flash. You're pretty confident that even if you do face check, you're going to be able to get out to some degree. He obviously used everything in the end and didn't get out, so, joke's on him. A little bit of threat assessment gone awry. But they did have to burn a fair amount at the same time. Harry had to flash, Praelis had to flash, so it's not like, that was an easy to come by kill, but they stuck to the play and really executed nicely.
Yeah, they certainly did. Gravitas as a team, definitely looking like they're coming together. It's always nice to see what is a new organization kind of start to work out pretty well early on. Yeah, they've split a lot of games. They're currently only sitting at 2 and 3, but the fact that they're playing this well early on up against Bombers, an early favorite here in the OPL, is certainly speaking volumes to their ability to play as a team.
Absolutely, and I mean, they are kind of a Franken team, as Nick put them. Duo lane from X Avant, bottom lane, of course, coming across from Legacy, and then Harry just being the only player that hasn't played with some of these members. And I think that, they would be comfortable with certain aspects of the team play and then trying to learn others. Obviously, getting to know coaching staff and, having to put it all together on a new patch also makes it a little bit more difficult. So, you can understand why they still have some growing pains. But I think that, you know, the good thing is that from everything I've heard about this team, they have a fantastic attitude towards learning. They're really confident that it will come together. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how some of the young players, you know, continue to learn and grow, especially their mid laner, Harry. I think that he's a really exciting prospect, and he has been picked on so far in the OPL, but will start to get more used to it as the time goes on.
Speaking of picked on right now, it looks like Pabu's going to find himself on the wrong side of a 1v3. Teleport coming through, and he's just going to get chewed up by Mimic. Into the zombie form he goes. Harry is a little bit late to this party right now as Mimic is going to shoot Pabu's zombie in the face. Pabu's another one of those players that has brought a lot of name recognition, a lot of excitement to OPL fans, and everybody, of course, remembers what he was able to do at All-Stars. But in top lane, he has been quite a lot of Scion so far. So it's been, you know, this big beefy boy kind of champion rather than a crazy playmaker. But it doesn't mean he hasn't been able to make plays. Just right now, they're respecting him quite a lot and putting him 6 feet under. FBI flashing away, though, from the damage of Praelis. Good little outplay, 1v2.
Yeah, nice. Gank again, one more time, coming through from Praelis, getting another Summoner spell on Summoner's Rift. Talking about Pabu a little bit, I think people are trying to rewrite history on him a little bit. He's always kind of been a tank player. When he played on Abyss Esports, like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, he was a big tank player. I actually think he played Malphite in their promotion games. Then obviously, you know, was able to play on Avant last year. He had a couple of, you know, Pantheon games and the likes like that, but was very comfortable on tanks again. And I think that, you know, this is a matchup that he would be very familiar with. So I don't think he has to be playing the carries. I think that, you know, now he can play the carries, and that's another feather to his bow, but certainly, you know, 1v1 tournament is much more different than playing 5v5 League of Legends, and his performance internationally was stellar. I mean, taking down the likes of Doublelist, Faker, and Rookie in a tournament is pretty impressive. No one has really reached that heights, you know. But at the same time, now has to be able to translate some of that laning prowess, I guess, more into that 5v5 landscape, because he has been focused and he's currently 30 CS down. When you only have 40 CS, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, you start to delay some of those crucial items, and you know that was a big part of the win condition of, as you dubbed it, the sledgehammer composition. You want to get yourself a couple of items you can then kind of group up as 5. That Unstoppable Onslaught is a pretty big key of being able to close these gaps and force fights on your terms.
And you just need to be tanky enough to get under the first turret, right? You're going to be able to pick up a kill if you land CC onto anyone. You know, lockdown coming through from Harry, damage from Praelis and Raid. In the 5v5 team fight, whoever he hits will die. No one at that stage of the game is really going to be tanky enough until Mimic maybe has 3 items going towards, you know, something like the Stone Plate. So I think that, you know, this isn't doom and gloom just yet, but he just needs to make sure that the lane stabilizes a lot from here.
Certainly the case. However, for the time being, it's still a slight lead for Bombers with a kill split apiece. They didn't seem to really be phased by what happened earlier in the mid lane at all, and I think that's a sign of a team that, you know, really has kind of earned their keep as far as expectations and performance goes. As we keep alluding to, it is so early on in the split that it is hard to make very concrete conclusions from any of these best of ones. But Bombers so far are, I think, the only team that have really quite lived up to the title contenders' expectations set on them.
Yeah, I think, you know, Chiefs, so when I came into this season, I thought that the 2 teams that were going to be the most ready-made teams, you know, take it as you will, like if IKEA, you know, most of it's ready to go out of the box, you just have to put the pieces together, were going to be Bombers and Chiefs. So I think that so far this season, like, people that really have sat down and, you know, studied the OPL would be not surprised by how the leadership board looks. I think that people thought that Gravitas were going to take time, and they are taking time at the moment. And I think that, you know, the 2 surprises have kind of been that Avant currently sits where people thought Mammoth were going to sit, and maybe Mammoth sit where currently people thought Avant
we'll see what happened with Mammoth is that the instruction manual, that's all in Swedish with pictures,
yep,
that didn't come in their kit.
Yeah, potentially. So
still missing a few pieces there. So, you know, I would say give Mammoth some time as well, but they definitely still have some of those pieces for success. But back into this game, for sure, Bombers have definitely demonstrated some significant aptitude. Looks like we're going to have some fights going forward. Praelis running straight into Ryoma, getting the hop on. Realm Warp, can he get out in time? The answer is no. Praelis finding the deletion, but it's a Hextech ultimatum, and it's a little bit too late for that one. Even Pabu making his appearance, but a little late to that party as well. Now Balkan's on the run.
And look at this, once again, everyone rotating across. Even Alistar is here on this play. Pabu going to be able to cut Volkan off? He goes on to Harry.
Looks like Harry is going to have to run for his own life right
He's
now,
dead.
so Volkan might just be able to get something out of that. Goes golden, buys a few more seconds of time. Mimic kind of running through, might be running through to his death as well. This fight kind of never ends here as Mimic does get the flip, and Gravitas decide that's going to be the end of the engagement.
Yeah, Pabu burnt the flash there. Kind of looked like he still wanted to go in. The rest of the lineup, however, from Gravitas wanted to back out. This is a game that's dead even at the moment, and I really am liking what Decoy is doing on the map. He has been so active so far, Pyro. He's been able to rotate to 2 plays now. First one, he was there for a little bit more of the cheerleading aspect than the actual playmaking, but this time around certainly was needed, and I just like the fact that you can see that they're so much more aggressive today. And he wants another one.
Yeah, looks like they're going for Rogue as he gets caught out, going a little far forward. Can't get the Great Health off, and Raid, with a perfectly timed dash over the wall into Culling, gets himself a kill.
And this is a Raid and Decoy that were able to take down Order last year. This is a lineup that, you know, has shown moments of brilliance, and they just love to play against FBI and Rogue, apparently, because they're looking the goods again in this lineup. And I'm sure that Bombers right now would be a little bit roughed.
I think you definitely can't argue with that one. Gravitas starting to set themselves up for a good position here. Playing very aggressively, knowing that they do need to kind of take a hammer to the nail of Bombers.
And again, Ryoma is caught out.
He just keeps going deep here, and we've seen this movie before. Ryoma, he might be dodging a few skill shots, but he can't escape forever. It's another kill. This is the other thing, the sleeper threat. Praelis is 4-0 on Kha'Zix.
Oh, he's not a sleeper threat. As I said, he is the carry. The lanes are there to provide the CC for Kha'Zix to pick up the kills. Like, this is exactly how you want to see it. And then when it gets to things like Baron and Dragon fights, he can just duck into those dot brushes, you know, get his ultimate off, and he's such a nuisance. You saw multiple people be able to use Kha'Zix to pick up fantastic objectives like the Dragon because of the Evolved Claws, and then have so much threat around the map. And you can see that top side of the map that they have now rotated to just has such good vision for the Gravitas lineup. They're going to play around Rift Herald. Once again, the neutral control of Kha'Zix is just so damn good, especially when he has 4 kills. This is a great game from the young Gravitas jungler.
Overall for Gravitas, things starting to look up in this game. Decoy will be wrapping around as well to join Raid. Mimic still holding the line, but with turret plating up and available still for another 40 seconds, Gravitas looking to grab some last-minute gold here. They should be able to secure at least a little bit more. And
absolutely.
It looks like Bombers just don't really seem to have any wanting to really change this up in terms of lane swapping. Instead, Volkan will join Mimic. That's going to force the flash at a Decoy, but so is the teleport coming out. So it looks like Harry's coming in. Instead of going for the dive now, Praelis, he's on Ryoma. Once again, he finds the rise. And into Rune Prison he goes, but doesn't matter. He's out in a jiffy, and it looks like we might be in for Rift Herald.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that Lease forces him away off the play. They're going to look for the objective apart from the turret. As you mentioned, turret plating now down. So no more gold to get in these laning phases. Mimic still has ultimate and flash, however, so that means they do have to peel off.
Scatter here as soon as Volkan and Mimic show face. Gravitas don't want to push their luck in this.
And that is a tempo loss, because now you've got 2 people having to hard reset. Bottom lane turret is getting pummeled down here by FBI. Pabu can't really do all that much against him.
Ooh, Chaos Storm. FBI.
Ooh, he took some turret shots on the back end, though, so Pabu might be able to stay. In fact, he might just ulti him.
Have to wait for the Telltale Dong. Doesn't happen.
I would go for it. That is, I mean, teleport is available from Mimic. It could swing on its head, but you can see that Praelis would be ready for a cross map there. Certainly has the damage. He's going to teleport back, okay. A lot of pressure now gained for Pabu in this lane.
All right. So things are definitely looking up here for Gravitas. The gold lead's still very slim. That doesn't, of course, really tell the whole story here at 15 minutes on the clock. There's also that Mountain Drake we hadn't really talked about that spawned first. It was picked up quickly by Gravitas. And now Gravitas are going up towards this top side, actually waiting and baiting in the brush. Rogue sees that ward go down, and it looks like he's going to get caught out. Instantly flashed, but it doesn't matter. He's stunned up. That is a golden catfish, and it looks like it was Harry that finds himself caught on the line. FBI here to cut off the escape, and he's going to be left for dead. But Pabu turns it right around, getting the kill onto Rogue. And it looks like he's going to get caught up with Exhausted as well. Not a lot more for him to do. Mimic chews him up, spits him back out. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Bombers.
Yeah, it certainly is, but a little bit strange fight there for Gravitas, because this is the first one that they didn't fully commit to. You can see top lane that Raid's still up there by himself. Doesn't rotate to the play, instead elects to collect an extra minion wave. Meanwhile, FBI did rotate down to join with the rest of his team. 80 carry with both summoner spells would be very useful in that team fight, especially given the fact that he has completed his first item Pyra. So this means that Bombers will be able to pick up the Rift Herald. And game's starting to look a little bit more in control for them.
Tempo swings back around again for Bombers, so this time they're able to be the ones grabbing the Rift Herald after Gravitas's play goes a little bit awry. Still got to admire the incentive that they've taken. It's just the execution still needing a little bit of work against what Bombers have had for a rock-solid counterattack.
Yeah, and it's about giving you something to review right at a certain point as well. If you're a team that's learning, a game where you don't really do anything, you can't really learn from. You know, all you learn is we need to do something next time, otherwise we're going to lose. This game, however, they've made some terrific plays. And even that play could have worked. You know, Rogue was very close to falling down there. Had the stopwatch, I think, that was a little bit overlooked. So, you know, was ultimately able to stay alive. As actually now the play's on.
I mean, this is Bombers also matching the aggression that Gravitas had earlier in this game. I'm really liking it. Yeah, it's hindsight's 20/20 for certain, but you have to admit this is some darn good League of Legends across the board from both teams, even if not everything is paying dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, Rift Herald going to be dropped top lane. So, as you mentioned, Bombers really starting to match the pace of this game. And it kind of felt like the Bombers were caught a little bit napping. You know, Gravitas played so slow yesterday that Bombers thought, you know, we're just going to have a pretty standard laning phase, and we've got a really good 5v5 and 1-3-1 in our own right. Let's just, you know, take this step by step. And then Gravitas came out, threw a couple of haymakers. They're like, okay, we need to up the pace. They got warmed up a little bit. Now they're really firing.
Managed to secure the top tower and some extra damage, courtesy of Shelly as well. Great play. I always like the way the Rift Herald charges. Speaking of charge, look, Dekai's going through. Rogue swallowing up FBI, flashing forward. He's going to live, but that's not what we can say about Rogue there. Ryoma going for a run around, and he manages to get himself out in the blink of an eye. Gravitas pick up one, but this just goes to show every single time someone from Bombers steps out of a line, Gravitas are looking to collapse on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more time, you can see that that's 5 members rotating to the play while Mimic stayed at home. Didn't have the teleport available, instead takes the turret. So still a good trade right now for the Bombers, but you can just see the initiative that Gravitas are taking in this game, the willingness to make the play. And, you know, if the game progresses a little bit longer, all of a sudden a pick could mean Baron, especially if the top lane is caught bottom without teleport. And just really trying to take it to, you know, Goliath in this battle.
Did say it was David versus Goliath battle, but if I remember the Bible, I think somebody wins that one that you wouldn't have expected there, Spawn, so maybe there's hope for Gravitas yet. Still slim gold lead in their favor. 4 kills and 0 deaths on Praelis, though. I'm always going to be keeping my eye on the bug this game because he's been making Ryoma's life suck.
Absolutely. And if he goes towards Dustblade right now, he will nearly one-hit Ryoma if he doesn't get that Aftershock proc up. So really interested to track the bug, as you mentioned. See if he continues to play as aggressively as he's able to right now. But in saying that, you do really have to applaud Bomber's ability to get objectives against the flow of the game right now. As we mentioned, at 1 to 2 items, Gravitas' comp is just better. But time and time again, they've been able to sneak things away.
Well, that's just the difference in caliber of teams for certain. Gravitas still a young team looking to learn together, improve together. Bombers kind of already there here. But we'll see. Gravitas getting closer and closer to that power spike. 1.5 items on everybody.
Yeah, I would say they're really waiting on the Dustblade and the Black Cleaver, and then they're online. You know, Pabu doesn't really need items at this stage of the game.
Right on time for Baron Nashor as well. If they manage to get, you know, a couple of picks, and we've seen how fast that can happen, despite the Tahm Kench of Rogue, Gravitas could very well be on the Purple Worm early on. But look at what Bombers are doing. They're setting up a 2-man Death Brush with Balkan and Ryoma.
I think they've been spotted, though.
Ooh, I don't know about that. Steal away a red buff. Hyrie went through really quickly to put down a ward, but now they know. Okay, they do.
So the thing is that they were hanging out in the area. They had been mid lane. They walked into topside jungle and not showed on the other lane, so they must have been in there somewhere. But not able to find him.
We've seen this so many times here, but Praelis doesn't quite have the deletion damage. However, in comes Pabu, stopping just short. Praelis getting chunked out and shut down by Ryoma in a 1v3 scenario. They burn everything to try and get him. A Decoy was face tanking on the back. All of a sudden, Bombers come to the rescue, and it looks like they're going to be taking down Raid and the rest of Gravitas pretty easily peasily right now, and I think that might just be an early Baron.
Yeah, that could just be Baron right there. Mimic lands the ultimate 4-0-1 for the Korean top laner, and the fact that Ryoma was able to get Praelis during that play was massive. Harry now forced to contest a 1v4 Baron at 21 minutes into the game. I don't know if he's going to be able to stop them.
I don't think he's going to be able to at all. The best he could hope for is cheekily stealing it off of a Q or something, but it just seems so unlikely. Balkan, of course, holding on to that. No, he goes forward to try and get a deletion off, but Rogue immediately swallows up Balkan. They flip him back, delete him, and now there's no one available to
Did he
contest.
delay for
Praelis
long
is
enough?
there. Too late, though, just a few seconds. So all 5 members of Bombers, they pick themselves up the Baron.
And that's just such an impressive play. You know, they turn onto Harry so cleanly. They flip him back onto the Baron. This is how it all starts off. And you can see Praelis thinks that with the team behind him, he's going to be able to pick up the kill. But he got tagged up there. Pabu wasn't in front of him to tank the Qs. Praelis went a little bit too aggressive, in my opinion. You know, they were going to get that kill, whether he was the person that secured it or not. And then just to continue on the fight on the back line, Decoy was caught between 4 members, fell down. Raid gets caught out as well by a very nice Balkan ultimate. And Gravitas, we said, needed their team fight at this stage of the game. Well, they found it. They just weren't able to win it.
Yeah. Did they? I don't think they had the items they needed right before that either. That was the other thing. They hadn't gone back to shop yet. But Bombers taking advantage of a great window of opportunity. And Ryoma, very crucially, I think that flash made a huge bit of difference too because he avoided Pabu's pain train.
Yep.
Great play, though, by
but
Bombers.
They could have let him go, right? At that point, he doesn't have flash and he has no health. He's not rejoining the fight. You can turn around. You can look at the rest of the unit instead. That's not what they went for. They committed multiple resources in trying to shut him down. And ultimately, Ryoma was able to outplay. It just shows the caliber of player he is.
And as I've kind of gone on and on this game about Praelis and his score, but Mimic's also 4-0, like you pointed out, too. And now sitting on 2.5 items, including the Black Cleaver. Righteous Glory as the Urgot. It's kind of hard for Gravitas to get into the 1v1 situation with the big crab.
Yeah, it certainly is. And now the game's exactly where you want for a 1-3-1 comp, right? You have priority. Oh. You have priority in the mid lane, even if Raid is dashing on your mage. And you've got the 2 sideways winning.
Oh, looks like Ryoma's going to get sandwiched between 3 here. Praelis coming in for some revenge. Make that 4. Raid even helps clean up even further, but they've kind of left the
Oh, Balkan, what are you...
gate open here. Balkan kind of whiffs a little bit on that hook shot.
Why did
I
Harry
don't know
not
if he's
go
going to
in?
get punished for it. Balkan getting swallowed up by Rogue. A little bit of indecisiveness on both sides.
Harry had ultimate. Could have locked Balkan down underneath the turret and 100% secured the kill for his team. Did not go for it, so he just strolls away in the end.
That was weird.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Pyro.
Just going to come out and say it.
In saying that, they do waste time on the Baron buff. They lose a turret for the pick, but in the grand scheme of things, certainly a worthwhile trade for Gravitas. So once again, a proactive play, but Bombers still 4,000 gold up. Still looking the goods. Ryma's died 4 times. I feel like he's had a better game than his scoreline has indicated, but he has been caught out a lot.
He's been focused a lot, but at the same time, he also really seems to like that area of the jungle between red and Raptor Pit of Gravitas side. So I don't know what it is. Maybe maybe he's got like friends that hang out there. Maybe the little raptor's like his pet or something. But he needs to stop going there alone.
Yeah, I would say that's the case. And the thing that is difficult about 1-3-1 is knowing when you can rotate to the play and when you can't. Praelis, did he see that?
I don't think so.
They're going for the play mid lane instead.
Oh, they want to kill FBI and Rogue here. FBI a little bit on the back. There's a teleport coming through. Harry going forward. He does get a stun off. However, through the full culling, there's going to be 2-man knockup. Meanwhile, Balkan and Praelis having a fight of their own here. And it looks like Bombers are going to win the one that matters. They're going to pull the Lucian back in. Mimic with the 5th kill of the game. And Bombers completely mopping up Gravitas on this map. That's 1, 2, 3. Looking for 4 as Decoy is going nowhere. Ryoma claiming a kill of his own. And Pabu's zombie is going to fall down.
And that is a clean ace, Pyra, at 24 minutes into the game. That means the base will most likely be broken, and the Bombers in this 5v5 scenario just showing their class.
Bombers just looking pound for pound like the better team. They're even going to split it up a little bit so they can maximize the amount of damage. A little hard to end with death timers, only 10 seconds on this clock, but Gravitas all of a sudden are put into a dire situation to try and come back this game.
And Gravitas did such a great job at the start of this game looking for opportunities, but you can see now that the gold isn't in their favor, that when they reach, they're getting punished for it. Because the duo lane is tanky enough to be able to survive. You know, they had the summoner spells this time around, so I really like the idea from Gravitas. I think that they have played the game in a winning mentality this time around, but unfortunately, Bombers just, you know, too savvy and too able to be able to take these fights.
The protection that is being given to FBI courtesy of Rogue, and the fact that Mimic is just so big, he can just be on the front line here and just basically blow everyone away with his arsenal.
Yep.
I mean, those two threats right there combined are a big part of Bomber's success.
Yeah, and you would hope that someone is dying right on the initial engage. That's how you have to play these fights. Sign has to go in, get the CC with Lissandra, and Raid needs to be there with either or Praylist to be able to clean up the rest of the damage. Problem is that the CC is landing, but then the 2 damage threats are a little bit too far behind, and they can't get that first pick. That then makes it a 4v5 team fights, even if you don't have some of your ultimates available. So as the game continues, certainly not over yet, but they have lost Inhibitor, they have lost, majority of their outer turrets, and it's a 7,000 gold lead. They'll have maybe 1 or 2 more swings at trying to get that 5v5 team fight before really Bombers will be able to close this one out.
The saving grace for Gravitas, though, is as well as they could have lost, I think, more than they did, with the death timers being a little bit low since how early that ace went through. The top tower, or the bottom tower, doesn't get quite broken in the base. Instead, they had to settle just for the inner. It's still a huge swing for Bombers, make no mistake. But only having 1 inhibitor down means that Gravitas still have a fighting chance when this next Baron comes up.
Especially when it's mid lane and you're going to be able to fight over priority for that regardless. Whether it's a cannon creep or a super creep, it's just a little bit longer to push it out, but the job still remains the same of getting this wave as far possible down that middle lane.
Gravitas are going to be really fully occupying this part of the map. They do not want to send anybody away, even Pabu with the teleport. Ooh, Praylist, though, getting chunked out by those lasers.
Yeah, he's
FBI
starting to take some serious damage. And FBI, the traditional AD carry player on these majors, is starting to look the goods. 4-0-5, Mimic 6-0-4. Both of them having terrific games.
Yeah, this is some pretty good zoning coming out of FBI here as Bombers took a crack at the 2-man Baron attempt, and that's forced a defensive ultimate out of Pabu as Mimic was chasing him down. That's not what you want to see.
Certainly isn't, and this is what happens when you don't get mid lane priority and you try and contest Baron. You can see that they just don't have anywhere to be able to walk. Bombers have complete vision of them at all stages, and they've pushed them so far back. This is just going to be a 2-man Baron, and there's nothing Gravitas can do about it.
Seems to be the case. So this is Bombers just kind of cool, calm, collected, making sure they can do it here. Praylist might be the chance to sneak in and get the steal, but he's going to run face first into Mimic. Runs right by him, in fact, and now he's not going to get a chance to do it. He'd have to flash the pit right now, and it's way too late. He gets yoinked back in, and Mimic gets a godlike kill to cap it off.
That's just so well played, 3-man zone defense around the entire Baron pit, making sure Praylist couldn't get in. And Kha'Zix is one of those champions. Very hard to keep out of the pit. Has an invisibility, has the leap from a very long distance, as well as the flash available at this stage of the game. But Mimic able to scout him out, pick him up. And Bombers now just will continue to push in on this top side of the map. They're 10,000 gold up, 28 minutes. And this is a Baron that they can look to close the game on.
Seems to be the case. Nothing's really stopping them at the moment, and there's still going to have to be an answer from Gravitas. Teleport coming through in the mid lane for Pabu. Just covering the short distance here, because every second is going to count. Into the gravity field, they take too much damage, though. You can see Harry has already got to back to Fountain once again. They still have to worry about mid lane. Raid dashes forward, bold attempt to try and scare them away. And Balkan may have stepped a little too far forward, but he's so far fed at this point that he can still delete Praylist off the map with a little help from Ryoma. And this looks like the game ender right here, right now. Let's see if they can make it happen. Mimic, once again with the Fear Beyond Death, pulling Pabu back in. Balkan with the last of his health bar, looking for Raid. Into the Guardian Angel he goes. And Bombers are not stopping anytime soon. They keep going with the aggression here forward. Balkan will finally get shut down, courtesy of Raid. But he's not going to last much longer. Rogue even flashing forward. And it's a little bit messy at the end, but Mimic and Ryoma still remain to finish this Nexus off.
Yeah, finally FBI dies, but the team fight still goes the way of the Bombers. They're going to take the Nexus turrets. They're going to take the game.
No one there left to stop them, so Bombers just shy of the 50-minute mark. Actually, they're going to back away and let this game keep going because Praylist is off.
Okay, so they don't go for it.
I think they could have gotten that.
Yeah, I think a couple of auto attacks would have been able to get it. In fact, Praylist is going to struggle with the minions, let alone if there was any champions there, Pyra. But I like it. Slow and steady. Won that one race between the turtle and the hare. Apart from that, just slow people generally lose a lot of races.
That is very true. That was always a little bit of a weird fable.
Yeah, it certainly was.
If I'm honest. I think the takeaway is don't count your chickens until they're hatched at this point.
Potentially.
Bombers didn't want to push their luck too far. Mimic stucking around there as he teleported back in to try and get a little bit more damage.
Now the Hunter has become the hunted.
Yeah. This is never a good sign if your entire team is running away from an Urgot.
And the end of this game, has turned into a little bit of a clown fiesta, Pyra. But in saying that, everyone likes the circus, so I'm not exactly mad at it.
Break out the peanut spawn. We're still going to be watching the greatest show for a bit. But Bombers should be able to clean this one up.
Gravitas have one more shot. Here we go.
That's going to be that final fight if it happens. Harry goes forward, and there's the Chaos Storm on top of him, but he's gone golden. So has Praelus right now, trying to defy the odds and stop the inevitable at this point. Gravitas, it is a valiant effort, but it is too little, too late, and this game will end after this fight. Bombers going for the win.
Certainly are, and you can see it is only Raid as well. Actually, it's 3v4 still.
Pabu's still here. I mean, he's tanky, but he's not quite the beefy boy he needs to be. And the super minions are wailing away at the Nexus. So still, Gravitas fighting, which means the auto attacks are being saved for them. On the fountain, even Raid goes down, and that is finally going to be the end of it with the ace at 31.5 minutes. Bombers will take the win and improve to 5-1.
A little bit of a fun team fight with Nexus dives going on. But actually super happy with the turnaround that Gravitas was able to make in one day there. The start of their game was actually really clean. I like the rotations around the map. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge just how good this Bombers team is on the individual and team level. I think this is what a lot of people expected coming out of Mammoth, actually. You know, that high caliber individual play translating very nicely into team play. And, you know, you saw even though Ryoma didn't have the best game, that time around was still influential in picking up key kills. And then the rest of the team was just playing at such a high level that, like, you know, they were always felt like they were just inching ahead throughout their team fights until that one Baron where they blew the game open.
It felt like everybody on Bombers knew their role. And I feel like I think that every week. And that's just how consistent this team is. I mean, there's one game they've lost so far in this entire split. Obviously, it's still early days, but Bombers really do look like the real deal from day one, and I think there's nothing that this game really shows us any different in that regard.
Well, this is the end of week 3, right? So there is only 10 weeks in this regular season of this, you know, 21 games going to be played total. They've played 6 of them, and 5 of them have looked really good so far. So, you know, even though it's only week 3, it's not like it's a very long season overall, and I think that Bombers have all the pieces firing like right now, and it's just about making sure that you continue to slowly build and stay on the same page, because this team individually is like, they're the real deal in OS right now.
They certainly are. Now to break that game down a little bit further, let's send it over to Nick Boy on the couch.
The real deal, indeed. It looked like Gravitas potentially had that game maybe locked up from the beginning. They started strong.
Yeah, there was a bit of umming and ahhing, I would say, from the Bombers camp there at the start of that game. Gravitas had them on lock, the 2v2 specifically looking at Praelus in the mid lane as well. The jungler, of course, being in the middle lane at the time. Ended up being 4-0 through the early game and was a super fed jungler. And that's exactly how you want to start a game like that. If you are Gravitas, you've just weathered the early game storm. You've seen games that Bombers have lost, and a lot of that was in the mid game going into it even, and you thought that might be actually a setup to a very good game here, and didn't quite turn out as the barn burner you would have expected with the team fighting Bombers.
Yeah, because like a 4-0 Kha'Zix is definitely a difficult thing to deal with. This was a very interesting draft, I think, from the Bombers with the blind rise, and Ryoma didn't, like, by all means, didn't have a good game this game. He was getting picked on very early, but on lock, I feel like, is probably an overstatement. This was like Mimic with 60 CS to like 20, 30 of the Sion on the top side. After that, like Balkan, Camille, like level 2, level 3 gank on the top side. They burnt Pabu's flash, and then he had a very rough lane phase. Gravitas did well with the rest of the map to make things happen early, but it was just a couple of overcommits in team fights, and then Mimic just absolutely popped off. His Urgot was completely unkillable around that Baron fight where everyone from Gravitas is trying to kill the 1 HP Rise on the back end, and it's just a huge fear from everyone, and Mimic just destroys them.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. Bombers certainly are looking like the real deal. And obviously we've got Avant coming up as well, and that feels like now the new top of the table.
Yeah, actually, speaking of Avant, I had this weird conversation when I was with Bryce backstage. It felt like if you put Gravitas' early game and Avant together, maybe that could beat the Bombers. But then it requires 10 different players, you know what I mean, to beat the one Bombers squad. So it's the styles that you can incorporate from that. I really do want to commend Gravitas on their early game, on their adaptations between days. I think it was super impressive. But they just didn't have the team fighting. And, you know, Bombers are a fairly new squad still. The fact that their team fighting is so good and they are so confident in their calls, it can only be positive.
But it's also, I don't think this is the best Bombers have to offer. I do not think, personally, like, obviously the players have their own opinions. They're playing Victor in the bottom side intentionally. Victor, FBI looks good on those champions, but I think FBI and Rogue are much better at a different style. I don't think Rogue is a blind Tahm Kench support. I don't think FBI is best on majors, right? Like this is not the scariest bombers that we can see. Top side of the map, very good today. Their bottom lane, they were just in there to weather the storm against Illusion, and it did work. But I feel like bombers, like they still have more to show, which is very scary.
Well, let's find out if bombers do have more to show because Pyra is sitting at the desk with Rogue.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yeah, so Rogue, that was a very, very clean game overall for you guys. Now, I believe you're the captain of the squad, so talk to me a little bit about the comms and how you guys choose the fights almost perfectly every time.
It's really good having, because we have 4 very experienced players, obviously Balcon's new, but having these 4 experienced players is really great because it's like, on a lot of teams, people, you know, they can't decide whether or not they wanted like a dedicated shot caller, and this is one of those teams where it feels like we don't need that. Like the foundation of trust that like this team already has in each other. It's like when every time someone makes a decision, and even in our loss against Chiefs last week, that was something that I was really happy with that the squad did, is even when it was like a bad decision and then people would disagree with it, they'd still follow up on it because we have this like level of trust in our teammates because we are all such experienced players.
Yeah, it does seem like even when one thing goes wrong for like one individual member of the team, nobody really blinks at it. Varoma, for instance, was going a little bit out of position a couple of times. He got caught. He kind of got jumped on by Pralus a lot. Were you really surprised by Gravitas's like extremely high level of aggression in the early game?
To talk about the first part of that, what's really great about playing this with this team, and like when I go back, even like yesterday, going back watching the VODs from the day before, watching back like topside skirmishes and things that I generally don't see in game, and just seeing like mechanical abilities of my teammates. And just knowing that like we have such good players and that I can have such faith that if I'm ever having a bad game, because in the past I've had bad games and they've stepped up. And I explained this to Balcon on his first ever game. He had a really bad first game and was very unhappy with himself. And I explained to him that like that's okay to have that bad game because I'll step up when you have a bad game and you step up when I have one. So it's really great to have a team of like really mechanically good players and just being impressed with your own teammates.
That's good to hear for sure. But yeah, do you think Gravitas just really had it out for Ioma this game? That was a little weird to see.
No, these Avan and Gravitas, they've actually outperformed my expectations. I said I don't know if anyone watches the videos that the Bombers put out on the Essendon Footy page, but in this week, going to this week's video, I mentioned that the AV and Gravitas squads, they're definitely those underdog teams, but they're the ones that in the best of one format, they'd definitely be expected to take games off the better teams. And so I said that, you know, these aren't times that we can be complacent because we really need all these points, and they really did show that they had the capacity to take games off these top teams as they've already done. I'm very happy with the fact that didn't happen to us. Obviously, we can get our consistency better because we should be beating these teams like more cleanly, but I'm still very happy that early into the season we're not dropping these crucial games to weaker teams.
I think that's totally fair. So obviously people have kind of put you and Chiefs on that same level of being like these title contenders at the moment, obviously still somewhat early days. But I want to know of those kind of dark horse teams, is there one that kind of makes you a little bit more afraid than the other?
Oh, definitely AV. Like definitely at the moment, I think it's us and Chiefs kind of going for that title contention right now. But AV they've definitely come out better than what people's initial power rankings going into the year was. So yeah, they've really outperformed themselves. So props to them.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Rogue. We're gonna go send it back to the couch to break it down further.
Speaking of outperforming themselves, I'm back. You thought it was going to be